A very warm welcome to all my dear children. This is Nilofer ma'am. Today I'm going to introduce to you the fifth chapter of political science, challenges faced by Indian democracy. Topics that we are going to include in this module are communalism, terrorism, and corruption. Introduction. As we have said earlier, democracy is a continuous living process. Mere adoption of democracy does not bring democracy into practice. That means if we just adopt it, it is not going to work. We need to live it. We need to use it in our day-to-day life. Alert and conscious efforts are required to sustain democracy. Means if we want that democracy should be functioning properly, we have to be conscious, we have to be alert. It is necessary to understand threats to democracy in time and deal with them in a democratic manner. That means we need to understand the threats that is caused for democracy on time and deal with it in democratic manner. That means we should not take up our own ways of dealing with things. In this chapter, we will primarily focus on challenges before democracy in India. But before that, let us have a look at challenges before democracy at the global level. Challenges before democracy at the global level. Many democracies are facing the challenge of military takeover. What is military takeover? When the military of the country takes over, that is, it starts ruling the country. Another challenge is to ensure that democracy becomes deep rooted. Means democracy should be followed by every citizen of the country. Today, in every nation in the world claims to be democratic. But in reality, very few nations in the world have democracy that protects the rights and freedom of people and gives priority to the welfare of the people. To make democracy more meaningful, the government of India decentralized power and adopted the policy of reservation for women and weaker sections of the society. Now, decentralized power means it has distributed power. It has not concentrated power in hands of a few people or the ministers. Several measures such as inclusion of all social components, autonomy to social institutions, empowerment to citizens, protection of human values need to be adopted for real cultivation of democracy. Means all these things should be practiced properly. Only then we can say that we are following the democracy in a proper manner. Communalism. Communalism usually refers to a system that integrates communal ownership and federations of highly localized independent communities. In particular, earlier communities and movements advocating such practices were often described as anarchist, socialist, or communist. Now, integrates means to form into one whole. Communal means based on religion. Localized means particular area. Advocating means a person who supports others' views. Anarchist means one who resents outside control. Now, let's see what is terrorism. The deliberate commission of an act of violence to create public fear through the suffering of the victims in the furtherance of a political or social agenda, It also means the use of unlawful violence against people or property to achieve political objectives. It also means a form of psychological manipulation through warfare to the purpose of political or religious gains by means of deliberately creating a climate of fear amongst the inhabitants of a specific geographical region, means causing terror, suffering, and pain to the humble people. People's participation in democratic process reduces to a great extent due to terrorism. What is corruption? In India, the extent of corruption is said to be very high in the public sector. Public sector means the government sector. Government's working capacity is reduced due to corruption at the political and administrative levels. Means due to corruption, all the government working, they delay and corruption takes place. People develop distrust and dissatisfaction about the entire governmental system due to delay in governmental work, poor public services and facilities, and different financial blunders, means financial corruption taking place in the offices. Corruption in the electoral process, bogus voting, bribing the voters, abducting the voters, and such other things reduces people's confidence in the democratic process. Now, what do we mean by bogus voting? It means fake voting. Abducting means to kidnap, and bribing, it means usually money given in exchange of dishonesty. Now, the assignment. What do you mean by communalism, terrorism, and corruption? Write the given assignment in your notebook.